Hey everybody, and welcome back to Complicated Relationships, the Reddit story channel. I hope you guys are feeling great, and it's time for another story. After going through my wife's phone, I found out that she has been cheating on me for at least 5 months. Now, this is a complete story, so make sure to stay with us until the end. I am sitting in my RV outside a cafe with free internet access typing this. I have gone over this so many times in my head, but I figured writing this out could help me clarify the thoughts in my head. I abandoned my family a little over a week after D-Day. We have a 13-year-old daughter together. It's now almost 6 months since that day. I discovered her affair by chance. I believe we had a good marriage, plenty of intimacy. We would talk about stuff for hours. We had date nights regularly. We shared individual hobbies and we were healthy, in fairly good shape. It was good. Or maybe it was just me thinking that. My wife, let's call her Eve, she cheated, so she obviously preferred another man and not me. And if she could betray me like that, she couldn't possibly love me at all. Here I was thinking she was my best friend. In hindsight, I can see that I probably saw things through rose-tinted glasses. I actually believed that my family cared about me. I believed I was loved. I was the fool, I guess. I came home late from work. There was a safety training seminar I had to attend. She was sleeping on the sofa and a message with some emojis popped up on her phone. Emojis like I would use them when I message her. I snooped and I found out what had been going on for at least 5 months. I knew the AP. Let's call him Adam. He was a work colleague of hers. I had been to a barbecue at his house and met his family. He was married and had 3 children, the youngest just 2 years old. While reading the messages, something just snapped in my head. It fundamentally changed me. Over the course of reading their messages, I went from loving Eve more than anything to hating her, to just going blank. Not just about her, but everything. Totally numb. I took pictures of the messages and went to bed. I didn't sleep at all. My wife scolded me the next day, saying that I went to bed without waking her up. She complained about a neck pain from sleeping on the couch all night. I wasn't really listening. I just remember thinking how everything was muffled, as if someone had turned down the volume on the world. I was kind of surprised about how little I cared. I felt practically nothing. I should be angry, right? During breakfast, I didn't say a single word. My wife and daughter chatted away. They didn't seem to notice anything different about me or even acknowledged me. But I definitely didn't feel like myself. I felt like I was someone new, someone I didn't know or understand. I went through all the daily motions. I went to work, did all the normal stuff. The only difference is I sort of stopped talking. Sadly, I realized that nobody seemed to even notice. It's like I wasn't even there. I started to understand that even my daughter didn't really love me. I was in the house with them, but unless they wanted something from me, they didn't really interact. They talked to me, not with me, if that makes sense. I would get these pangs of pain. Sometimes they would overwhelm me completely. I walked around like this for 5 days before they asked me if something was wrong during dinner. I had maybe uttered 3 words to my wife and my daughter in that period. I didn't even answer her question. I just made a "I don't know" face and then continued eating. She seemed okay with that. The next day I didn't go to work. I worked for the local power company. I fixed power lines and such. I packed up some random stuff, plus my camping/hunting gear. I didn't really have a plan. I put it in my car and walked around the neighborhood for a while. I ended up at the kitchen table waiting for the wife to come. She came home with a few bags of groceries. She immediately started talking about her day while unpacking. I just sat at the kitchen table in pain. She didn't even look at me apart from one glance as she entered the kitchen. Daughter popped in and did the same. Their backs were turned to me and they talked about some trivial stuff on sale. I have never felt so rejected, unappreciated, so alone. I felt totally invisible, like I wasn't there, or that I wasn't worth acknowledging. I was thinking back on our lives, and all I could see was that they didn't care about me at all. They probably never did. I was an accessory to their life. I just didn't matter to them. I was a convenient and useful prop. I was hit with a wave of pain. I cried. Still, they didn't notice. So I got angry, very angry. I had a glass of water in front of me. I stood up and threw it hard at the tiles over the sink. It just exploded. Glass shards rained over everything. They both turned around angry. What the etch? They froze, unsure what to do when they saw my contorted, tear-soaked face. It was uncomfortably quiet for a long while before I spoke. Eve, I know all about your cheating with Adam. I was surprised how clear it came out since I was clenching my jaw so hard it hurt. My daughter looked at Eve. What? Is that true, Mom? Eve starting to try to explain. She briefly glanced to me and said, "Sorry, I can explain." Then she turned back to our daughter and they started arguing again. It was like I was invisible or something. After a few minutes watching their increasingly heated argument, I just walked out and got in my car. I looked at them again through the window, still arguing in the kitchen. They didn't even notice I had left. I sat there for a few more minutes before I gave up and just drove off. It took them maybe 15 minutes before they tried to call me. Then call after call after call, then a flood of texts from both of them. I just ignored it and eventually turned the phone off. The next day I took half of our money out and called my boss. I told him I didn't know when I would be back. He told me if I didn't show up, I was fired. I just told him okay and hung up. I just didn't care. I went to Adam's house. His wife opened the door. I gave her a copy of the messages and told her what Adam and my wife had been up to. I left her crying on the stairs. At the end of the day, I ended up in a cheap hotel at the edge of town. The next few days were kind of a blur while I tried to come to terms with things. I didn't make any real progress, mostly staring at the wall, trying to think of reasons not to end it all. Eve's older brother is a cop. Let's call him Bob. Bob showed up on the third or fourth day. I'm not sure. I don't know how he found me. He tried to interrogate me. I didn't say anything, and when I didn't engage, he told me I was under arrest and put me in cuffs. However, he didn't take me to the station like I expected. He took me home instead. Bob dragged me into the living room where my wife and daughter immediately started berating me. Still, I said nothing. I just listened in amazement while they told me how terrible this was for them. What a terrible thing this whole lot was for making them worry. It went on for a while. In the end, he screamed at me, "Say something." I stared at her for a while before calmly saying, "I have nothing to say to you." Poor Bob freaked out and slammed me against the wall, screaming at me to not talk to his sister that way. I got a lot of satisfaction out of Bob's stupid reaction. I don't know why it made me so happy. I was laughing. Bob's wife left him 4 months earlier. I smiled at Bob and said, "You're pathetic, Bob. Did you beat your wife? Is that why she left?" Bob hit me hard, and I went down. My wife and daughter started screaming their heads off. As I start to get up, I've just laughed even harder. I just couldn't help myself. I am still in handcuffs, laughing. Maybe it was the absurdity of it all. I spat in Bob's face and said, "Okay, you effing Bob." He hit me again, hard enough to knock me out cold this time. I woke up in the hospital. I puked all over the floor the second I opened my eyes, so I knew I had a concussion. Eve, Bob, and my daughter were there. They were talking at me. I was too confused to make it out. A nurse appeared and asked them to leave. She got me a pan to puke in and called someone to clean. While she was checking my pulse, I told her that my family put me here and that they were not to come anywhere near me, that if they came back into the room, I would leave. I would just run away. She argued kind of sternly that running or even getting up was a really bad idea for me, but she would talk to security. I didn't see them again in the hospital. It was bliss. Finally, I felt a little at peace, so I could think. I was thinking about maybe reporting Bob to get him fired, but it's a small town. His colleagues would probably cover for him. I considered confronting my wife, but that didn't make any sense to me either. I decided to disappear. I wanted nothing to do with these people ever again. I made a letter to each of them. I warned Bob that if he ever bothered me again, I would report him. I told my daughter that Eve had betrayed me and that she would be without a father from now on. To Eve, I made a long letter. I tried to be as practical as possible. I told her to sell the house, that I won't be paying the mortgage or utilities anymore, etc. I told her reconciliation or even contact was impossible, especially after she had sent her brother to drag me back and beat me senseless in front of them. I explained that I won't do anything for her ever again, so if she wants a divorce, she will have to arrange it. I told her I will disappear and I don't want to be found and not to interfere with my life again, that we will never speak again. I ended it with how much she had hurt me. I really, really regret giving her that last sentence. It's like I let her steal a little bit more of me, like I let her give me a little more pain. In the hospital, I made a plan on how I could disappear. Eve gave the hospital some fresh clothes that they forwarded to me. Then one evening, I just went out the rear fire escape. I triggered some kind of alarm. I was panicking a bit, but thankfully no one stopped me. I got back to the hotel to pick up my car. I traded it with a small RV and set off. I got a new phone. The only person I called was my father. I told him everything and told him if he gave my new number to anyone, I would become totally unreachable forever. He could call me if he needed to reach me if I needed to sign something. Other than that, I wanted to be left alone. For the first few months, I grieved the loss of my old life, but I came to realize that I grieved the loss of a fantasy, a memory that only existed in my head. The loving wife and daughter, the family friends, it was all just an illusion in my head. These people never really cared for me. Over time, I started to rebuild my life. Only this time, I was a total ghost. I ghosted all of society. Now I am only a P.O. box. I rented a safety deposit box to keep valuables in cash. I do odd jobs for money, but mostly I hunt and fish as a hobby. My money consumption is insignificant, so my cash reserves are actually growing. I don't pay taxes. I don't have a bank account. When people ask me my name, I never answer. I go out of my way to not contribute to society or anything else for that matter. I am still invisible like I was in my family. At least now I am invisible to strangers, not the people that claim to love me. And to be honest, I kind of like it. Now I brew my own beer, I move around, and I have no obligations. I work when I want and spend a lot of time in nature, just relaxing. I have a few friends that I hunt and fish with. I am in amazing shape, the best shape of my life actually. All in all, my life is getting better. At least now no one is using me for nothing but their own benefit while pretending they care about me. I don't know what happened to my wife and daughter, my old friends or the rest of the family. I don't know if I am divorced now or if I owe child support. I don't know what happened to the house. I don't really care. My father has tried to give me information a few times, but I shut that down. He is the only one I speak to occasionally from my old life. I feel free, relaxed, content, I could say happy even. I don't have much, but I don't need much when I get to the end of the line. I will sell everything and burn the rest of my money. I will make sure there is nothing of value left, nothing left to remember me by. Then I will walk into a national park without no one ever knowing and disappear forever. Sometimes I go to shopping malls, train or bus stations and just observe the people there. I see them all, the men like I used to be, the men that are sacrificing themselves to a society and families that don't give a s about them, men that work without any recognition or gratitude from anyone. They are guilt-tripped, pressured and pushed to always make more, sacrifice more, more and more pointless nonsense. Branded clothes, bigger house, more this, more that, and never even getting a thank you. No form of gratitude or appreciation. In most cases, not even a smile. They try to fool themselves, just like I was refusing to recognize reality. But I see it in them, just like I used to, deep down. I recognize their empty million-mile stare. I used to have the same one. This felt nice to get it all off my chest. Thank you for listening. And with that, we conclude today's story. Now it's your turn to let us know what you think about the story in the comment section below. Please do like and share the story with your friends, and also subscribe to the channel if you are new to the channel. And I'll see you again with a great story. Until then, stay safe.